Ladies and gentlemen, Eagles fans around the world, welcome back to week 2 of the Dougie Johns Senior Spotlight Show. As we noted on last week's show, all sports got rolling this past week, and we're here to bring you the results. But first, the results of our Gillig Winery poll are in, and volleyball is the big vote getter this week. So let's start with the volleyball team, John.
Well, Jason, thank you, and thanks everybody listening out there and watching us on YouTube. Please, if you get a chance, please subscribe, like, and share our video. We had a ton of positive reaction last week. We really want to continue to bring you Liberty-Benton highlights, and so if you can get out there and share, and also on Twitter, follow us at FlyLBEagles. We really appreciate it. Jason, as you mentioned, this was a big week for Liberty-Benton volleyball. First, we had 2 road wins over Defiance and Columbus, and then there was the big match against Northview. What most people don't know, Northview is a Division I school. Not only are they Division I, they're a really strong Division I. And the Eagles, just moving up to Division II, they played a great game, an absolute great match. They lost scoring 23, 22, and 21. I think in volleyball you lose by 2, so they were very close matches, all going past the normal score of 21. You know, this was a rematch from last year, and I think it's really important to note. Last year they beat Northview 3-0, but those were very close sets in our favor. This is a regression year for LB. They lost a lot of talent. They're still a very strong team, but they have a really strong result against a really strong team. I was really excited to see that. Hopefully, you know, you look forward as a jumping off point. You know, we lost, and it's the first loss we've had in almost 2 years. Ottawa Glandorf beat them 2 years ago in the playoffs. All of a sudden, they get 1 loss. I really think this is going to be a jumping off point for them. The lucky losers of this were Hopewell Loudon, who played our girls next. They played them on Monday, and it was a fairly easy victory for Liberty-Benton. So, again, a tough result against Northview, but really looking forward to what we're doing for the rest of the year. And I'd ask you, Jason, what do you think? We got now 5 or 6 games in the hopper. What are the goals for this team this year?
Yeah, absolutely, John. I think you hit the nail on the head there with the challenges. And certainly goals-wise, you know, win the conference for the 6th straight year would be one goal, 6th straight conference title. We note here the last time they lost a conference game, 2016-17 season, forever ago. So 50 conference wins in a row, continue that streak, and I think definitely favored to win the conference. But the goals are much higher than just the conference for the LB volleyball program led by Coach Todd. You know, we may not win a state title, but certainly expect to see a big run in the state tournament. She kind of noted that in some of the interviews post-Northview and in some of the previews. And one other thing to note is we are playing in Division II, as you talked about earlier. So, you know, for a goal for a team of this caliber is certainly to make that state run. But it is a big jump. So now that we're in D2, you know, no high school team has ever won back-to-back when jumping up to a higher division. So state title last year, Division III, now Division II. Competition certainly tougher and trying to do something that nobody's ever done. So we'll continue to monitor.
And one thing I want to note, we're going to move to golf next, but before we do that, you know, one of the things that I really was impressed with, and again, last year was my first year in a district outside of COVID. So the first time I got to see these sports programs, the support for the girls program was amazing. So it's early in the season. Some of these games might not be as exciting or interesting to the casual fan, but I would implore this Liberty-Benton community, get out there and support these girls. They really appreciate it. And so all the teams do as well. So as much as we love doing this and bringing the highlights to you, please go out there and see the games on your own. All of the sports, support our boys and girls. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure they're excited to get back into the high school here as school gets started. I did talk to a couple fans. The junior high gym, as you would expect, quite a bit smaller, was jam-packed. And a lot of people sitting up there in the rafters were sweating quite a bit. So not only because it was a good contest, but also because of the layout. So yeah, always a good crowd that goes out there. Like you said, we're going to turn over to golf. The Eagles team, they dropped a spot, finishing 3rd in the BVC midseason tournament after finishing runner-up earlier in the year in the preseason tournament. One highlight, senior R.J. Coldren, who will be featured later in the senior spotlight. He was the top golfer in the midseason tournament, shooting his season best of 85. So, you know, what's interesting is we just talked about all the sports getting kicked off, and golf is already at the midseason point here. So, you know, they've got a lot of activity done. We'll talk about that in the future here as we look forward to their season. They've got a big break here and a young team, just one senior, R.J. Coldren, and he talks about that a little bit in the senior spotlight, how he's trying to show his leadership and build that young crew up, and they've got an opportunity, I think, to continue to build on what they've built on the success and the challenges that they've experienced so far mid-year.
Well, it's interesting, and we'll get to this. Caleb, who was in our senior spotlight last week, he had a great performance after being on the show. I think RJ jumped the gun a little bit. You're supposed to wait till after you come on and then give us the good karma. But no, again, it is a mid-season already for not many of these sports, but golf is halfway through already. Looking forward to seeing what they can accomplish.
Absolutely.
Turning to soccer, girls soccer has had an unbelievably tough schedule to start the season, and it showed. I mean, this team has played well. This week they played Eastwood. They played a night game on Tuesday. They tied them. They had some tough luck against St. Mary's, but they did get a win on Saturday with a 3-0 win. One of the interesting things about this team is they have a great defense. And in that game on Saturday, Emma Hooper, Ava Hatch, and Cameron Holman had goals, but it really is that defense that's going to help this team kind of jump ahead, make that next step. In soccer, where there's a lot of 0-0 games, I think the ability to keep the other team to a low score, especially in high school, is really important. We'll talk about that in boys soccer in a minute, but the girls soccer team look real good and hopefully can continue to build some wins after a tough start. One thing about all of these sports, and we mentioned, please attend and please take videos. Show us what's going on. Jason joked, we don't really have a big travel budget. We get to as many games as we can, but if there's any content that you can share on our YouTube page or you want to share it on our Twitter page at FlyLBEagles, we'd really appreciate it. Absolutely. It'll help us understand what's going on a little bit more and hopefully make the show a little better. Boys soccer, they scored almost a touchdown against Rossford, 11-0. They also beat Eastwood last week, 4-1. That takes their win streak to 3 games. Garrett Nealis, he poured in 4 goals in the win over Rossford. And as I mentioned, our senior spotlighted Caleb Kohlert, he had 2 goals. Caleb now has 6 goals on the season, and he's hoping to get to a personal goal of 10 goals on the season. Again, you talk about soccer, I think it's more about defense than scoring because that's what really soccer is set up for. If you can position yourself defensively, you can control the game. Our boys soccer team is doing just that. 1 goal in the past 3 games. Great defense from this group. Great scoring output against Rossford, and hoping they can continue it this week.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it. So turning to cross country, girls and boys kicked off the season this past weekend, as we noted, Delphus Invitational, and the girls started off with a bang, winning the Delphus Invitational. A solid team performance all the way around, led by Maddie Garkey as the top finisher for the Eagle girls. Most of the girls ran faster times than last year at Delphus, so a great start for the ladies. Important to note that this is actually the 40th year of Liberty-Benton girls cross country. So hopefully they can do some big things this year to celebrate that anniversary. And then also for those that didn't see, we did kick off a legacy fundraising campaign to honor the current and longtime boys cross country and track coach Jack Quizno, as well as the late Pat Wagner.
Jason, I've been here 2 years, just starting to get to know everybody, but talking to some people, Jack and Pat have had a real impact on the school as a whole, but specifically, of course, to the cross-country programs. Can you please, let me know, if I'm new to the area and you're going to tell me the one thing that Jack and Pat have accomplished, what would that be? Like, what have they left behind? What's their legacy?
Yeah, they've led our boys and girls cross-country and track programs into excellence that's really recognized around the state due to their superior leadership, their dedication, and their mentoring over the years. They build a great relationship and rapport with all the kids, both on the boys and the girls side, and you see it in the classroom as well. I've heard some great stories about Coach Quizno specifically in the classroom from my son, and just they build that bond with the kids. And this fundraiser that we're talking about, it's a great way to honor them and continue to support these programs well in the future. One of the things that has been really a theme of the Capital Committee and the Capital Campaign, which this is associated with, is don't just leave a memory, be like Jack and Pat, leave a legacy. And this is your opportunity as a donor into that program to help leave that legacy.
You are so, I think, integral to these capital contribution programs. I know you work very hard on them. I'm sure if people want to help, they can reach out to you via email. There's always something to do to help, but really great news for the fundraiser for Pat and Jack, and a really interesting story about what they've accomplished. 40 years of any program is amazing, and to be a state competitive program at a school our size, we sometimes forget we're one of the smaller schools in the area, but obviously a great program in the cross-country world. So congratulations, Jack and Pat, and hopefully it's continued success to our cross-country program.
Yeah, absolutely. And to build on that a little bit, if people do have questions, lbcap2020@gmail.com is a way to get in touch with us. Also doing a search on Facebook. We've got some posts out there the school made, the boosters made, and then there's also a Facebook group for this fundraiser. So a bunch of opportunities to get involved and contribute. Continuing with cross country, let's talk about the boys. They were runner-up on Saturday at Delphus Invitational to a very tough Columbus Grove team. So the football team got the Grove team on Friday night. Unfortunately, Grove returned the favor on Saturday to cross country. Freshman, though, Jackson Hostetler, he led the team coming in third place overall. He ran a 16:41. That's a 5K, 3.1 miles, 16 minutes, 41 seconds. Yeah, John,
That's
have
fast.
you ever run 16 minutes consecutively?
Run? What does run mean? Unless I'm running from my mother because she's mad at me. No, I haven't. That is amazing to hear Jackson and his success already. That'll be great to see in future years. Let's turn to football. This was an amazing matchup with Columbus Grove. We highlighted it last week as kind of our highlight for this week, and it did not disappoint. I know you were in the stadium. It was a playoff atmosphere. It really felt like a really good program in Columbus Grove playing against an up-and-coming Liberty-Benton team. And I'll be honest, from my perspective, I felt that this was one that Columbus Grove was going to have to lose. That Liberty-Benton was not going to be able to go out there and out-physical, outplay Columbus Grove until they did just that. This started out very slow, both teams running the ball very hard. And we highlighted the running back from Columbus Grove. He had over 100 yards, but for him, that's not a great game. You compare that to what Mason Maud was able to do. And at the halftime, you look up, and Liberty-Benton's up 17-7 against Columbus Grove. You think to yourself, there's no way this can last. Until it does, and the final is 24-13, and Liberty-Benton beats Columbus Grove, and that was an outcome that nobody had. And Mason Maud, again, I mentioned him at the beginning here. He wins the Diamond Dude of the Week. He has 2 touchdowns. Just a fantastic outcome. And really, if you're the Liberty-Benton football program and you have some high aspirations, you just accomplished a big win, and now you have to keep it moving. And we'll talk more about what's next coming up against Arlington and the legacy and maybe continuing rivalry that we have with them. So real quick, we always want to mention the 50-50 pot. This, to me, continues to be one of the things that shows the support for the community. The pot this week was $3,900. I think that's amazing. We do want to thank all the sponsors, Finley Truck and RV, Wadsworth and Maumee, Bay Turf Company, and then the game sponsors, Gillig Winery, J. Alexander Roofing, and Heigl Insurance. So, again, we'll turn to football later, but let's take a pause now. Let's go to the weekly poll. The weekly poll is the more things change, the more things stay the same. We really enjoyed getting everybody's input on what should start our show, so we're going to stick with that. The poll is brought to you by Gillig's Winery. Please let us know which sport you want us to start the show with, and we will then start the show with that sport. You can vote on YouTube. We will have the poll up this week, but the poll will also be on our Twitter page at FlyLBEagles. Please vote. At the end of the week, we'll tally the votes. And please visit Gillig's Winery. Gillig's is the Finley's only winery which is owned by LB community residents, and they are sponsors of this segment. We want to thank Trevor and Nikki Gillig.
Absolutely. And like you said, make sure you visit them. And if you do visit them, let them know that you saw that they sponsored our show. That's good feedback for them to know that you've saw the advertisement there, and we encourage you to share that with them. Turning this week now to the senior spotlight, we have 3 seniors to spotlight for you. First, Kira Ogden from the cheerleading squad, Devin Montabine from the football team, and RJ Coldren, who, like we said, had the best round of his career at 85 this week. He's from the golf team. Our senior spotlights are brought to you by Dougie Johns. Again, they're the overall show sponsor, as well as continuing to be our senior spotlight sponsor for the past 4 years. Same thing. Make sure you visit Doug and Kelly Craig over there on Main Street. Order a pizza. Let them know that you saw this show, and that brought you over there to them. So we'll be back with trivia and look towards next week after we hear from Kira, Devin, and RJ. All right, folks, welcome back to the Dougie John Senior Spotlight. We have 3 guests tonight. Our first guest is from the cheerleading squad, Miss Kira Ogden. Kira, welcome to the show. If you would, please share your parents' names with everybody.
Matt and Pamela Ogden.
Matt and Pamela Ogden. Of course, Mom Pam is a JV cheerleading coach, and Matt does a lot of work with our booster golf outings, so giving back to the community. If you would, share your extracurricular sports and other activities that you participate in here at Liberty-Benton.
I am also a varsity basketball cheerleader, and my freshman and sophomore year I played softball, and this past year I ran track.
Wow, okay. Very active, very good. How about your plans after high school?
I plan on attending Bowling Green to study child psychology, and then go on to grad school to get my master's in clinical and school counseling.
Wow, fantastic. Got a plan all put together. Of course,
Yeah.
hitting Bowling Green, that's fantastic. Love to hear that as a BG alum. Have you had a chance to be on campus? I know the school here hasn't started, so probably don't have your application in yet.
I applied, but I have not went and toured the campus yet.
Okay, all right. Well, good deal there, and I know some people that can help show you around the campus if you need some help, so just let me know. How about sharing with everybody your favorite cheer memory?
Probably the mini cheer camp and getting to cheer with Kaysen's little sister Lily. She's just so much fun and she's so cute, and it's so great to see how much the little girls look up to you.
Yeah. Now that's something that the cheer program does every year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are actually still having applications and turning in your forms to be able to be in cheer camp right now. It's
Great.
in 2 weeks, I think.
Starts in 2 weeks. Okay,
Yep.
Nice little plug for the cheer camp. Fantastic. Now, will they get a run onto the football field, or how does that work?
I think this year we're going to make a run-through sign for them and the football team so they can run through before
Wow.
the game.
Well, that's always great to see the youth out at the football games, so that's a great program. So it seems to me that we have a very good student section here at Liberty-Benton. How fun is it to cheer in front of those guys?
It's a lot of fun to cheer in front of the student section. They bring a lot of energy to the games, and this year we actually moved to cheer in front of the student section during the second and fourth quarters instead of cheering in front of the fans the whole game. And it's just so much more fun. I feel like we're more involved with the student section this year, and I hope they bring a lot of energy to the game on Friday when we play Arlington, when it's a big rivalry game.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. A nice plug for this Friday's game. So let's back up here a little bit to last Friday. I heard that when they announced all the cheerleaders and announced you as a captain of the cheer squad. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
But my real question is, are you afraid that you're going to lose this title after you guys didn't throw any shirts and footballs out after the first touchdown?
No, I think I did get yelled at for it, I'll be honest. I got yelled at because it's as a captain, I need to tell people to do that. But I kind of just forgot. I was so focused on the game rather than throwing things.
Yeah, you guys made up
Yeah,
for it in the
we
following
did.
touchdown, so that's great. If you would, you talked a little bit about the cheer camp, but I think the cheer team also went to Ashland University for a varsity camp or high school
Yes.
camp, and then plans for a competition later this year. Share that with the
Yeah,
audience.
so we went to cheer camp over the summer, which was a 3-day camp, and it was a lot of fun. It's different than in the past. We've usually done just a home camp. And on the first day, we competed and got second place with our fight song. And then the second day, we competed with a band dance that we learned at camp and got first place. And then I competed in the jump competition and got second. And then on the last day, we competed in the final competition and got second place. Our JV also did really well and got a few first places in the spirit key, which was having the most spirit at camp.
Wow.
Yep, and then in the future, we in this October, we plan on going to cheer competitions, maybe 1, possibly 2,
Yeah.
and maybe bring home a few first places.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, I don't remember cheerleaders ever talking about that. Is this something new to the program?
Yes, we just decided to start doing it this year, and we think it'll bring a lot into the cheer program at LB.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, good for you guys. Best wishes on your senior season. Enjoy it. Keep doing a great job cheering on the football team. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a hand for Akira Ogden? All right, folks, we're back with our second guest of the night on Dougie John's Senior Spotlight Show. Right now I'm joined by number 75 from the football team, Mr. Devin Montabine. Welcome to the show, Devin.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You bet. Now, if you would share with us your parents' names.
Michelle and Chris Mondelein.
Michelle and Chris, fantastic. How about other sports and extracurriculars for you?
Freshman year I did wrestling, and this past year I did track, and I think I'm going to do wrestling and track my senior year. So.
Yeah, all right, good for you. Good deadly combination there of speed and violence. I love it. Perfect for football as well. How about your plans after high school?
I'm planning on going to college and playing college football, and I think I'm going to pursue a business management major or exercise science.
Gotcha. Any colleges in mind, or have you been talking to any of the coaches?
Yeah, I have a couple of offers right now: Ohio Dominican, University of Wisconsin-Platteville, and Notre Dame College over in Cleveland.
Yeah, fantastic. Good for you. Ohio Dominican would be nice and close by, and probably take on Findlay every once in a while. So
Yeah.
some of us from the LB area will be able to see a little bit easier. So good luck with all of that, and good plan for major as well. So best wishes there. How about sharing with everybody your favorite football memory?
My favorite football memory, I think, was freshman year. I earned my varsity spot as a freshman. I was able to help our team win a BVC championship against Macomb.
Yeah, definitely a big contributor right out of the gate, and certainly led to a lot of success that you've had throughout your career on the football field. Now, I reached out to Coach Garlock earlier yesterday to find out who his nominee was from the football program for Senior Spotlight, and he said, throw Monty out there. And I obviously knew exactly who he was talking about, but I didn't know how wide-ranging that nickname was. Is that something that you're used to being called? Is that your favorite nickname?
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite nickname. I remember my freshman year, all the seniors, they thought that was my real first name for like the entire season. But I mean, that's definitely my favorite nickname, and I'm really used to hearing it. Like, I just hear it, and it's just like, yep, I'm here.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it. Thought it was your first name. That's fantastic. Now, I noticed Friday night, Columbus Grove, certainly a big win. Defensive, offensive line that you play on did a fantastic job blocking up front for Mason Mod, 2 rushing touchdowns. Did a nice job holding down the Barraza kid. He broke open a few of them, but not nearly as much success that he had against Pandora. But I did notice a couple of times you walking off the field a little bit banged up. Talk a little bit about any injuries that you may have sustained.
Yeah, a couple of times I just had to leave. My knee braces were acting up a bit. Straps were coming undone, so I needed to get those taped up. And then later in the game, I rolled my ankle when pushing the pile back. So just had a minor sprain, and I'll be ready to go for this Friday.
All set. Arlington. Okay, gotcha. You guys have walkthroughs or film yesterday? And
I had Terry stick some needles in it, give me some ice, and that was all good to go.
Yeah,
feeling a lot better now. So.
Well, certainly referencing Mr. Jolliffe, who does a fantastic job keeping you guys healthy. Last question I have for you. I heard from a little birdie that you're playing in the Blue-Gray All-American Bowl in December, and I think it's at Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Share some details how you were selected to participate.
Yeah, one of the coaches from the selection committee reached out to me late July and just asked me to send over my film and just some basic information like my name, email, phone number, and that kind of stuff. It was like a whole month-long process of them just going over my film, going over my contact information, and then a couple weeks back I got my formal invite. So that's going to be exciting to play in December. So.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, what a great honor for you. Are you aware of any other folks in the area that are going to be participating in that game? Have you run into any of those folks yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet? All right. Well, we're certainly going to be looking out for that. I'm sure it'll be on TV. They do a nice job promoting high school football throughout usually ESPN for those types of items. So obviously best wishes on another great season on the football team. Let's make sure to keep that Arlington streak alive going into this week. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a big hand for Devin? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by our third and final guest of the night tonight on Dougie John Senior Spotlight. That's from the golf team, Mr. RJ Coldren. RJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How about sharing with us your parents' names?
Bob and Allison Coldren.
Bob and Allison, fantastic. How about your other sports or extracurriculars?
I wrestle during the winter. During the spring season, I am part of the baseball team. And this year, I actually have been blessed to be the student section leader during football games.
Aha. All right. Well, that's going to lead to some questions later on. I want to talk a little bit about wrestling. Obviously, you're the reigning 3-time conference wrestling champ, aiming to be the first ever 4-time champ at Liberty-Benton. But we'll wait till the winter and talk about that. Let's focus on golf here and now this student section piece that I was unaware of. So some new developments here. How about sharing with everybody, though, your plans after high school?
Right now, I'm looking and applying at different colleges. I'm planning on double majoring in communications and business, but I haven't decided quite where yet.
Gotcha. Any schools in the running, or just really haven't even thought it that far ahead yet?
I really enjoyed Cincinnati when I visited, but I also liked Miami University. So
All right.
Those are my top 2 right now.
Fantastic. Good deal. Well, I know a couple guys down in Cincinnati, and actually I know a lot of guys down in Cincinnati. So great school, great campus, but both schools, great schools. So good for you. How about your favorite golf memory?
It's got to be the team meals that we've had this year. After practices most days, because we practice in the morning, having such a early season. So we'll practice out at Sycamore Springs, our home course, and then we'll finish about 10:30, 11, and we'll just all pile into a few cars and drive over to whatever we feel like eating that day, whether it's Culver's or McDonald's.
Nice. Now, is that something new that you guys have done this year, or is that a tradition?
It's more of a tradition, but this year I feel like is a little different just because we have such a young team. A lot of them have to ride with the upperclassmen.
Nice. So creating some team bonding there as well as the fellowship during the meals. Great. Awesome. So I did see you talked about such a early start to the season. Team finished 3rd in the mid-season tournament, so you guys are already at mid-season when a lot of the sports are just getting started. But I noticed in the paper that you had the best round of the season for you, I think, of 85. You feel like things are coming together for you personally, and kind of keep being the team leader kind of going forward?
I do feel like the team as a whole has gone much better since we were at the start of the season. Like I said, we're very young this year. Last year we had 4 seniors who were starters. So losing them really put us at a level where we have to work very hard to try to compete with the other schools in the BBC. But I do think that we're going to make a run for it at the end here.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, you guys are certainly poised. I know you've got a lot of great senior leadership as the lone senior and a lot of experiences leading the wrestling program as well in the team meal. Sounds like you're doing a great job leading that young crew throughout the year. So you talked a little bit about being the student section leader. That explains a little bit, but I'm going to ask you this question nonetheless. I think that I happened to see you with a painted chest running in front of the stands with an American flag on Friday night. Is that right?
That was me, yes.
All right. Well, I know that you've always had a ton of energy, been a very positive kid. So I'm glad to see you out there keeping the student section energized, especially as the student section leader. It's fun to see, as we talked about with Kira as well, such a large and active student section that responds well to Kira and the rest of the cheerleaders. Any special things that you guys are planning for Arlington that you want to share, or do you gotta keep them a surprise?
Our theme this weekend is going to be a frat/sorority night to try to one-up Arlington in any way we can, to show them that we're ready to party and see if they are.
All right, fantastic. Well said from the student section leader. Ladies and gentlemen, best wishes to RJ on a great senior season in golf, and let's try to get that score below 80, all right? All right, how about a big hand for RJ Coldren? All right, folks, we're back, and it's trivia time. We do have a new sponsor for our trivia contest. We appreciate Immeasurably More Custom Designs by Ann Rader, another great LB community member. You can find her company on Facebook at Immeasurably More CD, which stands for Custom Designs. She does everything from embroidery, sewing, altercations, Letterman's jackets, vinyl and screen printing, and she's also very creative. You'll notice the bucket hat I wear during Senior Spotlight, that was produced by Immeasurably More Custom Design.
Everyone notices the bucket hat. But yes, no, she's very talented, and we're happy to have her aboard and looking forward. Again, if you want to go out and you want to visit Ann, let her know you saw us on the Senior Spotlight. It'll really help us out and help her out. So thanks, Ann, and looking forward to this week's trivia question.
Yeah, absolutely. So one note, the Fall Trivia Contest winner will receive the choice of that bucket hat, a beanie, or a baseball cap, as well as a fleece pullover. So great prizes here for our trivia contest. Last week's winner, who would have guessed it? Mr. Jeremy Recker had the correct answer of Kayla Trevino as the top girls goal scorer. And maybe what we should have asked was a tougher question of 94 goals. 94 goals in her career. That's amazing.
That is, and it was a tougher question. If you can't find it on a quick search in the Google, it's a tough answer, and we had to go into the school to find it. Congratulations to Jeremy. One note, Jeremy, you can't win every week and then win the bucket hat. We are going to select a new winner each week. So please get out there and vote on the trivia question, which will also be in the comments, and that's how we're going to do it for trivia. We're going to do the comments. First comment with the right answer wins. So the trivia question this week is, Jason?
Yeah, sounds good. This week's trivia question, who leads the Eagles football team in single game passing touchdowns? Again, who is the single game passing touchdown leader for the Eagles football team?
That is a trick question, and I'm sure many people are going to figure that out as they look up the answers, but that will be a fun one to hear. Okay, let's start off with next week, or this week, actually, in LB Sports. Volleyball, we mentioned, they already played one match this week. They do have one left. They battle Hopewell. It's on the road on Tuesday. As we film this on Tuesday, we hope that our girls are doing well. The golf team, as Jason mentioned, this is their break, so they're going to get better. They're going to get ready for the end-of-season tournaments and the end-of-season matches. And I'm sure if you're in the local practice greens and ranges, they're out there hitting the balls right in the hole, we all hope. Girls soccer, they've got another tough schedule. We mentioned that they were hoping it would ease up, but they play Lake on Tuesday night and then at Ottawa-Glandorf on Saturday. It's not really an easier schedule yet. It will ease up for the girls. Hopefully their defense continues and they can get a W, maybe two.
Yeah, and you know, John, you talked about supporting them. You know, certainly Lake is a big trip to make. Talked to one of the coaches last night. Big practice last night on the turf, getting ready to travel up to Lake to play on the turf, and then coming home to play Ottawa-Glandorf. Certainly another big tilt, and would encourage all the fans to try to pack the stands for Saturday's game against Ottawa-Glandorf at home at Liberty-Benton.
That's great, and hopefully good weather for it as well. Boys soccer, just one matchup. This is Big Green at Ottoville. You know, this is an interesting matchup, and I would love to be able to see this. Ottoville, they are undefeated. And not only are they undefeated, they haven't allowed a goal all year. Wow. We mentioned how the boys team is on a run with their defense. Well, Ottoville's going to give them all they want. That has the makings of my favorite score in soccer, 0-0. Cross country, the teams are heading up to Columbus Grove for week 2 of their season. Columbus Grove is pretty fast here, so we would expect to see some good times out of our boys and girls. honestly, I'd be surprised if the girls aren't near the top of the leaderboard again. And I'd love to see the boys get some revenge on Columbus Grove on their home course this time. That would be Columbus Grove's home course. Jason, big week in football. This is the rivalry that, in my mind, just won't quit, even though they've won 7,000 games in a row. But what's going on for football this week?
Yeah, you're right on. Rivalry week for the football team, and many a senior spotlight memory that we've covered over the past 4 or 5 years has been talking about that Arlington game, talking about the wins, talking about the win streak, and the Eagles are going to travel south for that tilt over to Arlington. Arlington is 2-0 as well, so a great matchup on paper.
Well, a paper tiger might be more likely. I believe Arlington has played Panera Bread High School and Dunkin' Donuts Left-Handed University or something like that. Look, Arlington might be a very good team, but they are nowhere in the class of Liberty-Benton, and hopefully we show them that on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we ended the 23-game winning streak for Grove. They had a 23-game regular season winning streak. We talked about that in the opening segment. And the Eagles were very focused on that. Now they're going to focus on continuing our winning streak versus Arlington, which stands at 20 games. That's right, folks. Our current seniors, 18 years old. The streak of victories versus Arlington, 20 years old. So, John, I'm curious, we're talking about the streaks here. Do you get superstitious and don't want to talk about streaks, don't want to talk about no-hitters, things like that?
Right. You don't want to talk during a perfect game, right? Look, I think in this matchup, it's less about superstitions and it's more about staying focused. I mean, we're talking about people who are attending Liberty-Benton High School who can't drive because they're too young, and this streak is old enough to drive. And this could be one of those look-ahead games. I don't think Coach Garlock's going to let that happen. I think the boys are going to be focused and they're going to play a great game. But it's less about the superstitions and the more about staying in the moment, preparing like you did for Columbus Grove. Play like that's who you're playing and do your best. Otherwise, anybody can beat anybody. And I joke about Arlington not having a strong team on the field compared to on paper, but they're still an undefeated team. Don't let up here, or this could be a much worse outcome next week on the Spotlight Show.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a trap game coming off ending Grove's winning streak and a big win like you talked about. Next week after Arlington, we travel to Ashland University to take on a very strong Mogador team. So, yeah, a chance to be celebrating the big victory, also looking ahead, potential trap. But I know that Coach Dietz, he gets amped up for this one, the rivalry. And I think if I do the math right, that since Coach Garlock took over in 2002 and kind of started coaching the football program, he handed it off in between there, and now he's back. We have never lost to Arlington. So I'm sure they're going to be extremely focused heading into this
That's
week.
another great point. Arlington will be motivated. They will want to win this game. You talk about the Browns and the Steelers. I make that joke about, is this a rivalry? Look, the Browns were beat up on the Steelers dozens of times in a row, and they still treat it as a rivalry. Arlington is still going to treat this as a rivalry. And you mentioned the Ashland game. I'll actually be going up, or the Mogador game in Ashland. I'll be going up there to help with the clock and everything. Mogador is right where I'm from originally, so looking forward to that matchup, which we'll talk about next week.
Yeah, absolutely. So finally, as we close out this edition of Dougie John's Senior Spotlight Show, we wanted to note that y'all did a great job listening, and the golf outing is very near capacity. Jeremy Recker and the golf committee are very appreciative, as is the Liberty-Benton Athletic Boosters. So this message is to you non-golfers. Here's an opportunity to support all of our student athletes. Say hello to the many of the coaches that are out either golfing or volunteering as well, and meet your fellow Eagles fans that are out there playing by volunteering and being at the outing. John here, he's a new volunteer this year, and Jeremy Recker makes it very easy and super fun. It's great atmosphere out there, great opportunity to meet a lot of folks. If you would like to volunteer, contact Jeremy Recker at jermrecker@gmail.com. On behalf of my co-host, Mr. John O'Donnell, I'm your host, Jason Borman, signing off. Thanks for joining us, and as always, go Eagles!